Hey guys, welcome to today's new series here at Catalyst Physical Therapy with Dr. G. Today I have professional golfer Joseph Naffah. In this new series, what I'm going to attempt to do is show you guys how I treat and demonstrate how physical therapy can actually be utilized to bring someone back from a traumatic injury and get them back to almost 100%. And the goal is, the ultimate goal is 100% and back to full, unlimited activity. Please welcome my guest, Joseph Naffah.
I guess I want to start it off with thanking God for introducing us in my lifetime, because I think you've done so many good things for me in the last 3-4 years. My injury started when I was 18. I came to the States from Venezuela to pursue my dream of playing professional golf, and that got stopped when I was 18 because of a spondylolisthesis, which is a traumatic injury in the spine, a slip bone. Avoiding surgery for so many years, like as a therapist, you're always gonna want to go around it and do whatever you can to avoid surgery as much as you can to try and let the human body heal by itself. Hit it really hard, saw over 15, 20 therapists in about 2-3 years. Nothing worked until I finally decided to have the surgery. And I had some injections done, and unfortunately I got infected in the surgery room. I was in bed for about 4 months, IV antibiotics for 9 months. Tough times. Luckily I got through it with special care and treatment back home in Venezuela, and then finally got healthy again to do the normal stuff, the normal living. And after all that, I finally decided to have the surgery because I needed to reconstruct what was damaged. It affected 2 of my other discs, which I completely lost. I lost part of the bone too, bone structure. They had to totally reconstruct my spine in a way, that would work for me. So the surgeon did some magic, and he did a triple fusion with some dynamic mobility stuff, so that, to help me move. As you know, chronic pain is tough to battle, and kind of gave up on the physical therapy there for a while after the surgery, because I wasn't really seeing much more than 50% improvement. I came to you by coincidence about 4 years ago now, 3.5 years ago, and you grabbed me, you told me that you were gonna fix me, to give you a year or two, and I made a commitment, and you introduced me to heavy training, strengthened so many parts of my body that, between the combination of having that plus your touch and your knowledge, I think it definitely got me to a level that I never felt since I was 18 years old, and that to me was impressive.
Where are you at right now as far as what your limitations? What do you feel physically? What's stopping you?
Well, mainly, the rotation is kind of affecting me a little bit at the hip level, and the things that are not firing correctly from the beginning are the hips. Yeah. All that coiling of the golf swing puts a lot of stress in the pelvis, and the rotation, the hips being tight, it's a big one for me. And all the upper stuff too, the neck, the left side, it's hard for me to rotate away from the ball because I'm so limited in this position when I try to rotate.
All right, so kind of like what we talked about earlier. So Joseph is fused, in essence, these 3 bones, 1, 2, and 3, have screws, so they don't move separately. They move as one unit. And then he has a cage down here between L5 and S1, the tailbone, which carries most of the weight. And the cage is what's going to give him a little bit of mobility through there. Not as much as if he wasn't caged, but it gives him some ability to function. But the main thing here is he really needs to be able to coil up and uncoil to get that golf swing. And it's a pretty invasive surgery, but when it needs to be done, it needs to be done. So you can see the size of that scar there, right? I mean, they had to get in there, and they got to put in the hardware. And then from the front, you have another scar, and then you have a bone graft coming up off the top of the hip. So when he first came in, one of the biggest things that Joseph didn't have was a posterior chain. So he literally would function here. He was literally using quads to hold himself up and his lower back. So he wasn't looking down per se, but his pelvis was behind his rib cage. So he would still, he could look up, he could look straight ahead, but his hips were behind him, and it was just putting a lot of pressure on his lower back. So right now, if we look at Joseph, go ahead and turn face forward. I mean, spectacular, right? I mean, good form, good tone all across the chest muscle, across the upper shoulder girdle. We turn him sideways. Go ahead and turn sideways there. Everything's lining up. His ears are above his shoulders. Now, he just doesn't play, he owns a business, so he's got to be in front of that computer, but beautiful posture, good muscle development everywhere. Turn around, facing forward. Facing forward, right? Nice tone across the muscles. I mean, this is huge. We should have taken pictures prior to doing this a few years ago, because it did not, this is awesome. It is a work of art. I feel like Michelangelo. And then into the legs. This is what we're gonna address today. So part of the lack of rotation that he's getting, go ahead and do that rotary movement that you would usually do. Yep. And then swing through. There you go. So right here, we're having a lack of the hip opening. Here we're fused. Here is compensation. So he's compensating for that fusion there. So this is also a problem area for him. Okay. No. So he gets a lot of stress going through there. So one of the things that we're going to address today is that hip rotation. I'm going to try and get a more hip rotation by addressing the lateral hamstring and activating the medial hamstring on his legs. Okay, so today what I'm going to do, if you can see here, I'm going to focus on the lateral hamstrings. So the lateral hamstring starts down here at the bottom of the hip bone at the ischial tuberosity, and it inserts down here into the fibula, and then the medial hamstring is going to hook in over here into the pes anserine, which is right here in front of the leg. Now, I'm going to alcohol swab that. I'm going to prep them. What we're going to do today is we're going to do some dry needling. And I feel, and right away, he's lying down. There's no reason for this muscle to be active this way. Just feels like a active trigger point, right? So I'm gonna insert there. So kind of rub there. Here we go, little pinch, followed by pressure.
You know, a lot of people are afraid of needles and acupuncture and stuff like that. And one of the things that I liked about Jorge is that, you know, he really knows how to combine mixing therapies, different techniques, and merging them together, which I think for chronic pain is very important, because every technique has an attribute and, you know, a big plus. And in this case,
last one, little pinch.
just being able to combine them, I think it's clutch for him.
Right next to that runs the sciatic nerve, so definitely got to know what you're doing around here. Okay, all right, so needles are in, and I know you just saw Joseph saying that it doesn't hurt, but you have to understand this guy lived with a lot of pain in his back, so a couple of needles into the back of his leg really doesn't feel like much. But there is a little pinch. I never tell people there's not a pinch. There is a little bit of a pinch, but everyone's pain threshold is different. So sometimes I put these into people and they say I don't feel anything, and sometimes I put into other people and they say, wow, that's the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. It's means to an end. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to attach some electrical current, and I've just created a cycle. So it's going to go from here to here. If I wanted to, I could really be more aggressive and put a channel here and a channel here. This is enough. It'll run through the muscle belly. I'm gonna do that on both sides. Joseph, tell me when you feel the little thumping, okay? I don't want it painful, I just want it comfortable. You're gonna feel like a little thumping on your muscle belly. Feel that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna do that on the left side as well. Nice. So, in essence, what I'm doing here is I want to shut off the overactive muscle, or the muscle that he's overutilizing it. Shutting off the lateral hamstring and turning on the medial hamstring, we're going to get better gluteal recruitment and better hip extension, and that femur, that femoral head, is going to work better in that socket as opposed to being torqued in one direction this way, right? Because when the outside, again, I'm going to reiterate, when the outside is on, it's almost like his legs are getting turned out this way, and the knee's going to collapse inward. Okay, so we just ended the treatment. That was 5 minutes. Okay, no need to do any more. Take him out of the muscle belly. I'm not moving chi, I'm not moving energy. I'm just trying to relax the lateral hamstring. So we take these out. And we discard them, right? As you can see, no blood, right? There's nothing coming out. And now we retrain the hamstrings. Okay, so now we're on to the muscle re-education, right? Nothing complex. Got some tumble tracks. If you see the video I did earlier this week on Catalyst PTSA channel, talk about knee pain and balancing out the hamstrings. Same thing, he just doesn't have knee pain, he's got hip rotation. And you can see how one muscle can affect the joint below and the joint above, which is pretty basic education in the world of rehab. But we got these, they're almost like furniture movers. We're gonna put this under each foot, all right? And what we want is we wanna balance out the lateral and the medial hamstring. So what I'm gonna instruct Joseph to do next is he's gonna bring his legs together, right? And he's gonna try and keep his feet as close as he can, mainly the toes, okay? Okay? And I'm gonna forewarn you, you're gonna feel this. You don't use this part of your body. You're about to use it, okay? For the first time in maybe 20 years. Oh, he's not that old. So I want you to go ahead and bridge. So lift your hips, yep, there you go. Now notice when he bridged, his feet came apart. That's lateral hamstring dominance. I want medial hamstring. Bring your feet together. There we go. Okay, now while you're maintaining the bridge, slide your feet out. Keep your big toes together. That right there is medial together.
Together.
Now as you extend your knees, your hips are gonna go down. Oof. That's when you know you found the muscle. Feet together. Now your hips are allowed to touch the floor.
Okay.
As you extend. So you try to get as much extension as possible before your hips touch. That's medial hamstring right there.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah. So right now it's happening up here. He's starting to make that connection. He's feeling it work. That hamstring's connecting. The hips are being activated. The core's being activated. But we're balancing the medial and the lateral hamstrings. Right now his body doesn't know what's occurring. So for neuromuscular reeducation, we need a lot of repetition. Today, we're gonna ask for 30 reps, okay? Rest in between each 10. All right, so he just finished his 30 reps, okay? How was that?
Good, challenging. You know, my legs are a little tired from working out this week, but
Good.
definitely felt it where you intended.
Yeah, perfect. So the whole purpose of that exercise, yeah, it doesn't have to be intense, guys. All you have to do is find the muscle that's not firing, make the muscle fire. He's an athlete. He knows what it felt like. He does have to do that again every day. You gotta do that every day. He's gotta reactivate that muscle. That muscle's dead. It's not plugged in. He's not using it every day. So he does that every day, and it's gonna change the entire mechanics. Next time we see Joseph, we're gonna ask him what's new, what's different, and that's how we customize the treatment. It's gonna affect his core in a positive way. It's gonna affect his stance in a positive way, and it's definitely gonna improve his hip rotation. So that's it for today's episode. Catch us next time. We're gonna follow Joseph for about 6 weeks. We're gonna see where it takes us, and maybe he'll invite us to one of these tournaments. Hopefully they're in some beautiful island somewhere.